Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about my top 6 ways to avoid frugal fatigue. And the inspiration for this video is from Kaden, Making Frugal Living Fun. She challenged the frugal and budgeting channels on YouTube to take their spin on this topic. And honestly, I love this topic because I think that when we're all trying to either pay off debt or increase our savings, or we have any budgeting goal that we want to crush, we definitely all feel this in one way or another. So, Kate, I accept your challenge. And now let's get started. So my first way to avoid frugal fatigue has to be to have an accountability partner. Now for me, that's my husband. I can tell you that we all have moments, I bet, where we're just tired of saving, or we want to do something, or we want to splurge on something that's not in our budget. If him or I want to spend money on a larger purchase, we talk it through, we see, do we really need it? Is it a need? Is it a want? And we talk it through to the point where pretty much whoever wants to buy it is like, yeah, maybe we should wait on that, or let's budget for it. Best example has to be my deep chest freezer. I know it doesn't sound like it's a huge purchase, but for us it kind of was, because we wanted to get a quality freezer for our basement. But the electric panel in the basement where I wanted to put it doesn't support that kind of an appliance. So of course that meant we had to get an electrician here, and he had to add to our panel downstairs. And luckily we still saved money on it because we kind of estimated that the cost would be a little bit more than it was. But I set up a side account and I was throwing money at it until we did it, until we had more than enough. And then of course I got my deep chest freezer. I love that thing. But if I had just gone and said, you know what, let's just get it, and it wasn't in our budget, what would we have done? We would have either taken it out of our emergency fund or charged it on a credit card. And then that would be taking a step back from where we are. And that is definitely a way to fight frugal fatigue. Have an accountability partner. I know friends that do it because they're not married. They just call each other up and say, hey, I want to make this purchase. And then the other one's like, do you really want to make that purchase? And they kind of talk their way through it. I know partners that do it. I know parents that do it. I know kids that call their parents when they're grown and they're like, I think I want to do this. Let's talk about it, you know? So if you have anyone that cares for you and you feel comfortable talking about your finances, I really suggest having an accountability partner. The second way to avoid frugal fatigue is to have a change of scenery. When everyone started working from home and the kids started being virtual, after a few weeks, we all kind of felt it. We're like, oh, really? And it makes me want to just be like, you know what? Let's just go out. Let's just go do this. Let's just go do that, right? And what does that do? That blows the budget. But by thinking outside the box, you can still have an amazing time with your family. You can get out, you can have some quality time and save money. Here is a great example. When we were paying our credit card debt a few years ago, it was a really hot summer and we really wanted to go to the beach. We have an above ground pool in the backyard, and so, you know, we went and relaxed there, but we all love the beach. And the beach is very expensive because we're a family of 5. And even though our little one only pays half price, the rest of us pay an adult price. And then if you're in the beach all day, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get hungry. You're gonna wanna eat something, right? So that includes having a meal out. And then on the way home, they want ice cream. Oh, there's this ice cream place over there. It does these special ice creams. So the day ends up costing us, I'm gonna say between $80 and probably like $120. And that is completely against our budget. So what I did was I packed a cooler with sandwiches and some extra snacks and juices and bottles of water. And I waited until about 2:30, packed up the car with the kids, had the beach toys and everything else, and we went to the beach. Because I did my research and I knew that at 4 o'clock on the dot, they no longer charge you for going on the beach. And the lifeguards are still on duty for another 2 hours. And at 4 o'clock, it's still pretty hot out. So we got to enjoy our pool during the day. We got to go to the beach and still be able to have a great time. And because they don't charge you for being on the beach, you can take your cooler onto the sand. So we got to eat our lunch, half dinner for free. And then on the way home, because the whole day was free, we got some ice cream. And that was a great way to have a change of scenery and still be able to save money. Another thing I did one time is we went to the Museum of Natural History. I got an email from one of my credit cards. When I saw the email, I was like, what do you want? And they were offering free tickets to the Museum of Natural History on a Wednesday. So it happened to be a Wednesday that all the kids were off from school. So what did we do? We took the day off of work and we went and we had an amazing time. The train was free, right? We walked just a few blocks to avoid a cab ride. We got all of our tickets for free, had an amazing time there. At one point we left, and instead of going to a restaurant, there was a hot dog vendor that was right outside the museum. And my son was like, Mom, we're in New York, we have to have a New York hot dog. And I was like, yeah, you do. The whole day just cost us $25 for the hot dogs. I mean, how easy is that? It's an amazing experience. The pictures that we got that day are just priceless, honestly. And we had an amazing time. Again, thinking outside the box. Check with your local library. Check with your credit card companies. Look online for any free or small activities that you can do in your community or in your city or in your town. And that way you avoid frugal fatigue and you still have an amazing experience to look back on. So the third way that I avoid frugal fatigue has to do with not having enough time. Who's with me? Not having enough time for me is one of my biggest pet peeves. Now, if I'm working late or I have to do some running around with the kids after work, I know ahead of time that I'm not going to be able to have enough time to make a meal for my family. And that right there starts adding to the part of my brain that's like, hey, why don't you just order out, right? But it's not in my budget. So what I've done in the past is anytime that I'm making, let's say, a pasta dinner, I double batch it. So I make one for my family that night and one that I put in an aluminum pan from the Dollar Tree, and then I wrap it in plastic wrap. I put aluminum foil on top. I write exactly what it is so I don't have to look inside to remember. The cooking time, so that way I don't even have to think about pulling a recipe. And exactly what's missing, like if I need cheese on top or something. Then what I do is I put it in my deep chest freezer for days like this. I just pull it out about an hour before I'm planning dinner and I put it on the counter and I forget about it. Then when I'm done with work and that's the part where I start going, I don't have enough time to make dinner, I don't have to worry. I take that tray, I remove the plastic wrap, I stick it in the oven. An hour later, we're having a delicious meal that we enjoyed before, so I know everyone liked it. And I'm gonna have it on what? Paper plates. That's right, paper plates. That way, there's no cleanup. We have a delicious meal. I've avoided going over budget, and hopefully, there are leftovers for the next day. The fourth way that I avoid frugal fatigue has to do with visual cues. Now, when we were paying off our credit card debt, I made a printout of every credit card that we owed money to. So I would say the name of the card and how much we owed. And it went from the most to the least on the bottom. And I pinned it where I would see it every single day. And every time that I wanted to just go off budget because I'm frustrated, I'm feeling frugal fatigue, I'm like, no, because I have that. And that was so motivating to keep going. I was like, no, I am going to crush each one of those credit card debts. And cue the Rocky music, right? Every time that I paid one of those off, I went up to it, I'm like, dun, 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 dun. And I took that piece of paper that had that credit card debt on it and I ripped it off and I'm like, that's right. It is so motivating to have something that you look at every day so that you can either save for it or pay it off. And that way, with that visual cue, it makes it so easy to stay on budget and avoid frugal fatigue. And the sixth way that I avoid frugal fatigue has to do with my family. When we're having moments like that, like on the beach where the sun sets and we're looking up at the stars and I'm looking at them and they're having a blast and I know for a fact that the day cost us nothing. Or when I remember being at Disney in 2019, which was such an accomplishment for us because we had just finished paying off debt. We were just about to start building our emergency fund and we had saved and paid cash for the whole entire trip. I remember moments like that and I think to myself, I am so lucky. I am so lucky to have 3 amazing kids who just bring us so much joy, even on their worst days, and an amazing husband who I just adore. And having moments like that to grab onto, it's really encouraging to continue on this journey of being financially free. Whether it's paying off your mortgage, whether it's paying off your debt, whether it's accomplishing any savings goals, hold on to memories that really show you what you're doing, who you're doing it for, what goal you are aiming at. And honestly, for me, those memories at Disney feel like they were yesterday. They were almost 2 years ago, and hopefully by this time next year, it won't be a memory. We're gonna be back because that's the goal. So I hope you enjoyed these tips and you found them helpful. If you did, please click the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and to click on that bell. And Kate, thanks again for the challenge. This was a lot of fun. I hope you do this again with a new challenge. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.